Hi nerds, I'm Presley.
And I'm Meredith.
Welcome to Nerd Chat, a podcast where nerds chat. Well, we're here at episode 5. First off, thanks everyone for sticking with us this long. It's been a blast, I think. And today we are going on a most faithful journey through time and space, one could say. What do you think, Mare?
I think there's something that we need to cover, and we need to take our listeners on this journey with us.
So guys, oh God, we're talking about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Unfortunately.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So this was Mare's idea. I want to stress that right at the onset, because she forced us to read this. I want to say it's a book, but it's actually a play, so I'm going to call it a plook.
It's actually an abomination to...
That is probably the best description for it.
To all things Potter. Before we get into it, I just want to disclose first, there are massive spoilers.
Massive spoilers. You should definitely, maybe don't rate it, because we're going to give you a brief overview. But it's the worst. It's really the best. it's so, stop. Just don't. Stop.
And this may go without saying, but this is not going to be a podcast where we obsessively praise this merely because it is a Harry Potter story.
That's very true.
We are not those kinds of Harry Potter fans.
Yep.
We're more casual Harry Potter fans, truthfully. The Harry Potter fandom, I think, is one that can get very intense in a good way and a bad way.
Yeah, for sure.
The Potterheads are a dedicated group, and we're not really a part of that group.
But just as welcome in the Nerd Chat household, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
But we were not going to bring that perspective. We're going to bring the perspective of people who've read the books, who've seen the movies, but probably aren't Potterheads.
Yeah, and I am definitely not going to go to England to go see the play. I don't know about you, Mare.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not that diehard. But we definitely read the book, and I've read all 7 of the books, and I know Mare has as well, and we've all seen all the movies. So we thought it would be a nice topic to share. Everyone's obsessing about it, obviously. And there's also a lot of other Potter-like universe-related stuff that we will probably talk about a little bit here and there.
Well, okay, because it's important before we start just to point out kind of how we got here.
Yeah, it was a long road.
In 2007, J.K. Rowling released the last Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And then in 2011, the last movie by Warner Brothers was released, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And here we are 5 years later, and we've been given an official 8th story in the Harry Potter canon.
Right. That involves Harry Potter.
Sanctioned by J.K. Rowling herself.
The only person in history to have made $1 billion off of writing books.
I thought that she wrote the book because if you look at the cover, her name is very big.
Yeah, it's the most prominently featured name for sure.
It's not written by her. The story is credited to her, but it's actually written by a man named Jack Thorne, who I hope never gets a writing job ever again. Sorry,
yeah.
Jack. But there was a lot of other steps in this process that I just want to touch on. Mm-hmm. Since pretty much 2007, J.K. Rowling has been adding to the universe. And I made a quick list of things that have made the headlines that she's added.
Yeah, gloss it over for us.
So in 2007, she announced at a panel that Dumbledore was gay.
Right.
No mention of him being gay in the books.
I've always felt really dubious about that point.
Really?
Because, well, yeah, like, because there had been rumblings since the 5th book came out that he had been gay. That was like where that whole controversy started, when he and Harry got a little bit more buddy-buddy than they had in the past. And I feel like if he had meant to have been gay, because they do touch on, like, not explicitly people's sexual orientations, but, you know, ever since the 5th book, like, you see the tension start to build between Ron and Hermione and Ginny and Harry, right? Like, that starts to happen. So if there had ever been sort of anything... Like, we know that the professors also have those sort of inklings with, you know, Snape and Lily Potter. Like, there was always that duality. So, like, the fact that it's never, ever once at all mentioned in the books, and then everyone suggests it. It just doesn't seem as genuine as if it had just been said.
I dug up the news article from 2007.
Okay.
And it says, Dumbledore is gay, Rowling said, adding that he was smitten with rival Gellert Grindelwald, who he beat in a battle between good and bad wizards long ago. The audience gasped, then applauded. I would have told you earlier if I knew it would make you so happy, she said.
Yeah, see, that doesn't feel right. Like,
No.
It's not that it doesn't feel right that he is gay. That's totally cool, but just the way the story has been presented for literally all the other characters, it feels much more like a token award than like the way it was actually meant
and
to
just
be.
like pandering to the fans. Like, whether or not you want to make Dumbledore gay is totally your decision as the author.
Yeah.
But like, let's
Own
at least, yeah, exactly. We don't need, it's like she's getting the best of both worlds by not officially making a character gay, but then like to all the gay fans being like, no, he's totally gay. I'm not for it.
Wait, you said Grindelwald?
Yeah.
That's really strange to me.
Yeah, the whole thing is strange, but we have to continue.
Okay.
We have a lot to cover.
There's so much to talk about.
In 2014, she announced that Hermione should have ended up with Harry.
2013?
2014.
Okay, well, then you should have written it that way. It's been 7 years.
I also pulled the quote from her on this because I think it's really interesting.
Okay.
I wrote the Hermione-Ron relationship as a form of wish fulfillment. That's how it was conceived, really, Rowling says in the interview. For reasons that have very little to do with literature and far more to do with me clinging to the plot as I first imagined it, Hermione ended up with Ron. I know, I'm sorry, I can hear the rage and fury it might cause in some fans, but if I'm absolutely honest, distance has given me perspective on that. It was a choice I made for very personal reasons, not for reasons of credibility.
That's such a weak thing. Like, I don't get... Again, if you had wanted to do something, you'd have literally the complete creative freedom to do whatever you want.
It just doesn't quite add up. Okay, May 2nd of this year, she apologized for killing Remus Lupin.
I mean, I was really sad about that.
We all were.
Yeah.
We all were. But I feel like Rowling might feel like she really owes the fans a lot.
Right.
And so she tries to like cater to our wishes, but that's not really what we need. We just want the story.
Yeah, I think one of the things that happens, especially when you have like certain epic tales, you know, I think of the Star Warses and the Lord of the Rings and various things like that. You're always going to have certain decisions that you make that, you know, taper the story down when you get to the end of it.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of live with those decisions, and you can dislike them and think that they were wrong decisions at the time that ended to a conclusion that you didn't like as much. But that doesn't mean that you should kind of retcon literally all the things that are like very core to the universe. Like saying that suddenly, you know, the fact that Dumbledore is gay doesn't really affect that much in the story, like ostensibly, you know, like it. But, you know, changing Ron and Hermione's relationship is a very, very major different thing.
Totally.
Because it also affects other characters. Like, you know, Ginny is one of my favorite characters in the whole universe. And like, she was smitten by Harry since like they were introduced essentially. Right. So like, where does that go? There's so many things that happen that I don't like about that retcon.
Okay. So in addition, because we're not done with what Rowling has recently done.
I know.
There have been 3 Universal theme parks created. So just
Where's the third one?
Japan.
Okay.
Like one in Florida, one in California, one in Japan. Raking in money.
Yeah.
Right? Like hundreds of thousands of visitors every year. Everyone buys a lot of stuff. In the fall, they're coming out with the new Warner Brothers Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them movies starring Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge.
It looks actually pretty good. Did you see the Comic-Con trailers?
Yeah.
I think it looks interesting. I appreciate that they're just pushing away the old universe and exploring this different one.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's what I hope. That's what they seem to look like from the trailers. I cannot promise that that's what it will be, though.
And I think we really can't talk about what J.K. Rowling has done without giving a shout out to Pottermore.
Yeah.
Which is the website that she has created as kind of like an encyclopedia of Potter knowledge that she is constantly adding new stories and information to.
Right.
I think one of the more interesting announcements that she's made within the last year is that there are 11 wizarding schools in the world.
That is a confirmed thing.
Yeah. So
we had known, at least in the books, we only ever learn about 3.
Right. Hogwarts, Beauxbatons, Durmstrang.
Yep.
The other schools include Wagadu, which is the African school.
All right.
Mahu Tokoro, the Japanese school. Castel Bruxo, the Brazilian school. And of course, Ilvermorny, the North American school. All of this is to make the point that Harry Potter is evolving. If you're not aware of it, it is.
Yeah, it's happening all around you at all times.
We did not leave it at 7 books. It continues, and that leads us to Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is a new play that just opened on the West End in London.
How's it doing? I never looked at the reviews. I almost didn't want to.
I don't know, to be perfectly honest. J.K. Rowling has released a script that is being marketed as the 8th Harry Potter story.
And so we read it, so you nerds don't have to.
And please don't read it.
Please don't.
If you do, please don't buy it in the store like we did.
Oh my God.
Find a link online or something.
Okay, I'm just going to start out saying that the book has its problems plot-wise.
I would agree.
As in a lot of them. Let's just give our listeners the general plot overview. So the story follows 19 years after the end of the Deathly Hallows, right? And it follows the story of Albus Severus Potter, who is the middle child of the Potter family. And it starts with him when he first turns 11 going to the Hogwarts Express and on his way to Hogwarts for the first time. He is concerned that he is going to get sorted into Slytherin, unlike his older brother who is in Gryffindor, who keeps teasing him that he might end up in Slytherin, where apparently all the evil wizards go. So Harry kind of reconciles with him, says like, hey, if you get into Slytherin, it's not a big deal. Snape was from Slytherin. He's one of the most amazing wizards I've ever known, so it's all good. He does end up being in Slytherin, and in the process, alienates literally everyone he's ever known and makes best friends with Malfoy's son, Scorpius. So these two are in Slytherin together, and over the course of several years, there's kind of like this several scenes stack up where they age to the 4th year, and they grow a lot closer, and they completely alienate themselves from everyone. We learn that Harry Potter is kind of not great of a father, and his siblings are kind of mean, as in Albus's siblings. And so through various circumstances, they discover that there's a time turner still remaining, and for whatever reason, it's kind of a dumb reason, they decide to go back and save Cedric Diggory from being murdered during the Triwizard tournaments that take place during the 4th book.
You guys,
Yeah.
just want a quick side. This is all true and accurate. This is the actual plot of Harry Potter.
That was my general synopsis.
And the Cursed Child. So yeah, basically, Albus and Scorpius, two best friends, sons of Harry and Draco, decide that they are going to take it upon themselves to steal a time turner from the Minister of Magic, Hermione.
Yep.
Go back in time and make it so Cedric loses the Triwizard Tournament and is not killed by Voldemort.
Because they feel bad because Amos Diggory, his father, is, really, really old right now, and he feels really cheated, especially, Voldemort says kill the spare, Cedric meant nothing at all to anyone, which, is incredibly sad. It's a really tough moment in that book.
I mean, it's sad, but it is true after book 4.
Yeah.
It's not Cedric Diggory and the Goblet of Fire. It's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
He's not the main character, but it is a very critical moment in the series. The series turns drastically around that singular pivot, I think.
That's true. That is very true. But without further ado, I think we should just get into what we thought of this play.
Oh my God. Okay. So let's talk about, it's not just like a book in the traditional sense. They release some of the blocking inside the book. They like blocking and stage directions, to give you, it's essentially like the background narration that you'd find in any book. So it's really bad. It's like really, really bad, guys.
Well, you had an interesting observation.
So in reading this book, there's something that came so quickly to my mind. This book feels so much like you're reading fan fiction online, like just any other fan fiction for Harry Potter.
Like poorly written fan fiction.
Yeah, and I for one support fan fiction. I think that if you want to create a new universe based on other people's things, you go ahead and do it. I got no problem with it. But I do not like the way that this book is written in that sense.
Yeah, it's poorly written. Like in terms of the characters, so many of the characters make like great departures from both their book character and movie character.
Yeah.
And it's also like poorly written just as a piece of English writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
agree.
riddled with typos. The dialogue is like sometimes like horrible.
And incoherent at times. There were several scenes where I had to reread like 3 times before I understood like the implications of what they're saying.
Or just what the hell was going on. Hopefully it makes more sense on stage, but I'm sort of doubting it.
Yeah.
Just to give you guys a little, if you don't believe us, we decided that we're going to read you guys an excerpt from the dialogue. It's right at the beginning of the story on page 10.
Yep.
And it's one of the first exchanges. We're
introduced to Rose, who is the daughter of Ron and Hermione, as well as Lily, who is the daughter of Harry and Ginny. And we see Lily run up to Ron because Ron owns a joke shop and always has fun jokes for Lily to enjoy.
Okay, so you be Ron. And I'll say what character I'm being as I say the line. I'm going to be multiple characters.
Are you aware of the Weasley's wizard Wheezes certified nose-stealing breath?
Rose. Mom, Dad's doing that lame thing again. Hermione. You say lame. He says glorious. I say somewhere in between.
Hang on. Let me just munch this air, and now it's just a simple matter of, excuse me, if I smell slightly of garlic.
He breathes on her face. Lily giggles. Lily, you smell of porridge.
Bing, bang, boing. Young lady, get ready to not being able to smell at all.
Which is not English. He lifts her nose off. Lily, where's my nose?
Ta-da!
His hand is empty. It's a lame trick. Everyone enjoys its lameness.
So that's a real excerpt from page 10, real blocking, real everything. Also incoherent.
So that's the level of
That's what we're working with, guys.
yeah, that's the level of the intellect. It never really rises above that level, I would say. That's pretty good. So, what were some other of your favorite just out of context quotes that we were getting? There were some gems, whether in the stage directions or in the dialogue itself.
My favorite is right at the end of Act 1. It's on the last page. Page 86 for those of you reading at home. They've just completed this task. That is, I reread this thing 6 times, and it was still, I did not understand what was happening at all.
Well, the task that they're trying to complete is that the time turner is hidden in Hermione Granger's office. She's the Minister of Magic, and they have to crack some kind of code to find the time turner
by opening or taking books off the shelves, but the bookshelves eat them.
Okay, why is Hermione creating a puzzle that children can solve to hide things?
Right? Just put it in a lock thing that you can't open with a Love-Amora. That's easy.
She's smarter than this. Okay, so they do this task.
They end up getting the time turner. But instead of proclaiming oh yeah, we got it, nice job, guys, a normal kid would do after finding this, quote, this is from, who's it from? It's from Scorpius, who says, "We beat it. We beat the library."
Classic Scorpius. Always,
oh yeah, that's Scorpius.
He's always got 2 points. He's always hitting you with the 1-2 punch. My personal favorite line was said by Ludo Bagman. For those of you who don't remember, very minor character in the books, takes on a big role in the play. He's the announcer for the Triwizard Tournament.
I know what you're saying.
Like we mentioned, there's a lot of time travel, so you don't really know what universe you're in. There are parallel universes. There's just the past. There's the present. There's the changed present. There's a lot. Cedric Diggory transforms a boulder into a dog. Ludo says, "A dog." He's transfigured a stone into a dog. Dog diggity, Cedric Diggory. You are a doggy dynamo.
Just really hammering it on. Did we confirm that if that is or is not in the 4th book?
It is 150% not in the 4th book.
Okay, so they just added an announcer who announces even more annoying things than in the original 4th book.
Exactly. Well, in the
Seems
4th book,
useful.
you really are seeing the Triwizard Tournament from Harry's perspective.
Yeah, you get very little insight. You learn how things are done, but it's through third person. It's never first person interactions.
Right.
So those are some of our favorite lines. What page was that, just in case people want to really mark it down for their enjoyment?
That's on page 189. If you make it that far in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, go ahead and send us an email, and we will send you a free Nerd Chat t-shirt.
Seriously.
You deserve a prize if you make it to the Doggy Dynamo line and haven't blown your brains out. My favorite stage direction, I really just wanted to... there's so many gems in this book.
The stage directions really are so... They don't make any sense. When you read them and whatnot, you can't... Half of them you cannot emulate in a stage. There's no way to visualize or say or see anything that's happening and what it's describing.
Exactly. So this was my favorite one. And okay, so this is on page 19. It's really early in the story. And it didn't make any sense when I first read it. And then after I read the entire play, it suddenly made the most sense of anything in the entire manuscript.
Okay.
It's the beginning of Act 1, Scene 4. And the stage direction says, "And we now enter a neverworld of time change." And I was like, what the hell does that mean? What is a neverworld of time change?
How is the audience supposed to know what that's happening?
Yeah, what does that look like, guys? What does a neverworld of time change look like? What is a neverworld? Can anyone? But then when I finished the book and I was looking back over at the pages I had marked, I realized that that's what this play is. It's a never world of time change.
I mean, Mary, you understand that is only talking about the progression of them through 4 years of...
No, that's not what it's talking about.
I mean,
it's talking about all of the time travel that they do throughout the various scenes, all the time turning that happens, the parallel universes. It's a never world of time change, Presley. And it says it right there, right at the beginning of Act 1, Scene 4.
I got it.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite stage direction?
Oh, I did. It's on page 74, right in the kind of the middle of Act 1. Albus and Scorpius decide to abandon going to Hogwarts, their 4th year. They jump off the train in just a lovely scene, which I'm sure you'll get to. But Harry, Draco, Hermione, all these people discover that they never arrived at Hogwarts, and so they're having a discussion about the fact that their sons are missing. Draco has been very short with Harry the entire play. And so I'm just going to read a little bit of the lines just to give it a little bit more context, if that's all right. So Harry says a great line that says, "And I told him that there were times I wish he weren't my son." Draco responds, "If anything happens to Scorpius," Ginny, "don't throw any threats, Draco. Please don't do that." Draco, roar, "My son is missing." Ginny, on equal roar, "So is mine." He meets her look. There's real emotion in this room.
I'm glad that there's real emotion.
Yeah, instead of fake emotion like you want
feigned
when you're acting.
Emotion.
How is someone supposed to know that there's real emotion in that room? Why does it need to say that? Like, clearly their children are missing and they're yelling at each other. Does anyone doubt that it's real emotion?
So as upsetting as the writing is, the stage directions, the dialogue, honestly, what I find a little bit more upsetting are the substantive changes that were made. These are some of the most beloved characters of our generation and will be for generations to come. Mm-hmm. So who did you think had the worst character makeover?
This is a hard question because a lot of my favorite characters die in the original thing, so I don't have them to like fall back on. But I'm going to probably go with Ron, actually.
Ron is a great choice for this question.
Partially because Ron is silly. He's the silliest of the three. He's definitely the comic relief of the core three, Harry, Ron, Hermione group.
But he's not a joke.
Yeah, he's never been a joke. Like, he makes, in the first 3 books, maybe a little bit, but then, like, once we get into the 4th, 5th, later series, he becomes, like, deadly serious in a lot of scenes. There's some really, like, deep, intense parts where Ron becomes a very, very important, deep character. And in this, they just make him a total laughingstock, literally the entire play. There's never
like
any
clown.
redemption. Like, he runs a joke shop, which I could see Ron doing. Like, that's not, like, no.
He does something better. Ron grows up to be something better. I personally think that they all grow up to be something more than this play gives them. Harry Potter, grows up to be like a officer in the Ministry of Magic, a bureaucrat.
The head officer.
He's a bureaucrat. Hermione is, that makes the most sense, her being the Minister of Magic.
Right.
But I even expected more from her. Like, Harry Potter is not in the government sector. I mean, I guess
what's he going to do in the private sector, Mare?
He's going to do something. I don't know. It'd be better. Whatever. I can't even go there. I mean.
But getting back to Ron, he's just never treated with any respect. And so then they go to these parallel universes where they've changed certain key things that happen. And Ron is always the same dopey idiot person. Like, in one of them, he marries the wrong person and like is a complete idiot. And in the other one, he is like literally Hermione's like pseudo slave. Or like,
he's like a footstool.
Yeah, he's like a footstool to Hermione who's leading this resistance. And then even when we go back to the original, he's still just like the derpy joke who tells, like, it's all fine. It's all good to tell jokes to your niece, right? But like for him to just run a joke shop and like do nothing but make jokes and like joke about how fat he is, like isn't funny.
No, and it's lame. And I don't like the fact that it was revealed that he was wasted at their wedding and he doesn't remember it.
Oh my God.
Ron, you were not.
No, he would like be stone cold sober if he gets to marry Hermione.
It's his dream come true. My least favorite character makeover is Harry.
Yeah. His is really bad. I don't respect Harry.
Stand what they did to him. Not only is he like kind of this has been working, and it's sort of an unimportant job for the Ministry of Magic, he is an asshole father.
Yeah, he's not a good father, guys.
He is a bad parent, which is so upsetting because his, like, the whole first 7 books are talking about what amazing parents he had. And he completely drops the ball.
And especially they justify it in the books with like, or in this book with a really lame justification, which is that he never had parents, so he doesn't know how to parent. But like that's not how it works. I don't think.
Not when you've had like Dumbledore, Hagrid, Lupin. You've had some of the greatest mentors and the greatest life experiences that the world can throw at you.
Yeah.
And you're just like a shitty asshole. He literally tells his son that sometimes he wishes that Albus was not his son.
In no alternate, like, he says that without any time modification. This is like
that's just how
vanilla
he feels.
Harry.
That's just how he feels. I hate that. I think it's so messed up.
Yeah.
I want to see Harry kicking ass, being an awesome dad, which he definitely would have been. It's not a good look for Harry, I would say. Did you have any like other problems with how they portrayed Harry?
Not Harry, but Ginny, I really didn't like. Because Ginny is like both Ginny and Hermione are great examples of like very good, strong female characters. Like they both swoon over boys, which is like the less good side of a female character, you know? But both of them like have their strengths and do their really cool things.
See, it was funny because like people always get really like torn up. Potterheads get really torn up about book Ginny versus movie Ginny. Because in the books, Ginny is very nuanced. Like, she really grows a lot as a character. She really takes charge of a lot of situations. And in movie, Ginny just kind of like stands
She's
around,
a little bit more passive, yeah.
Plays the victim.
There's definitely some great points in the movies with Ginny, but I agree. And I'm referring mostly to the book Ginny here. But, like, in this one, like, all she does is, like, berate Harry a lot and, like, complain about her missing son. It's just like, you know, she has all these skills. She's a great witch, and there's just so much more to her that they never present. That's my like second thing.
Yeah, it's like somehow you took movie Ginny and you took out all the things that made movie Ginny interesting.
Yeah,
which I didn't even know was possible. So, what were the characters that showed up that you did not feel were necessary? Because this play features a lot of like beloved characters because of the time travel element, even like dead characters like Cedric Diggory or Dumbledore appears in a painting
twice. Yeah. So I would say that for me, one of the most disappointing things is Cedric Diggory.
Oh, he's very disappointing.
Not because Cedric Diggory I think is actually a really good character in the books. There's a lot of disparity about that because he's like, I don't know, there's stuff about him. But the whole plot, what Albus and Scorpius think will get him to quit the Triwizard Tournament is like the most nonsensical things I've ever seen in my life. The first try that they try is to get rid of his wand so he can't beat the dragon and advance to the next thing, which like more likely just gets him murdered. Right. Which is like really stupid, but it ends up backfiring and he tries harder in the second challenge. The second challenge, they're like, what can we do to fuck with him? Let's inflate him like a balloon and have him float away.
So fucked up.
Yeah, so like he's in the middle of the challenge and then he just rises out of the water and floats away. And it's very, very perplexing.
You guys are stupid.
Yeah, not only is it a stupid plan, but like you're taking a character that is like very good and competes really honorably and does all these really amazing things.
And
I'm just
dies
like, no,
honorably.
and he dies. Like,
It just float him on out of the competition.
like, at the end of the book, when Harry's about to win the tournament, Harry concedes and says, like, Cedric says, you saved me, you deserve to win. And he's like, no, we should win together, and then he dies. Like, that's noble and tragic. And here he's like, let's just inflate you like a balloon, I guess. That's the worst, right?
I mean, that's horrible.
What's yours, though?
See, I was so disappointed because there are characters that I really wanted to see. Like, if we're revisiting the whole Harry Potter universe, I have favorite characters that I want to pop up. Like Neville Longbottom, who is obsessively talked about but does not appear.
Yes, completely absent.
Where is he? Was he booked? Like, come on, Neville. I need an update. Luna Lovegood is one of my very favorite characters. Like, and Remus Lupin. If we're playing with time travel and we're going back to the fourth book, where's Lupin? Where is he? Here are the characters that did make appearances that I did not need at all. The Trolley Witch. Moaning Myrtle. The Dursleys. Dolores Umbridge. And, lest we forget, the fucking Centaur.
Oh, I forgot about the centaurs, yeah.
Yeah, I was especially upset about the addition of Bane, the Centaur, not necessarily like for who he is, but for the role he plays, because Harry bases so much of his decision to do all the things he does, like to separate Albus and Scorpius, based on the fact that Bane told him that there was a dark energy surrounding Albus. What?
Yeah, it's really stupid.
Like, why is Harry Potter taking advice from a centaur?
Also, plot point hole, he says that, and there's never that. That never impacts Scorpius at all.
Albus, you mean?
Either of them.
Yeah. But I think, okay, so those were like some characters that I really did not want to see on stage. The one that takes the cake, though, that I really like was offended that appeared was Portrait Dumbledore.
Yeah.
That was not okay with me.
It was
the
really
only
bad.
way to bring back Dumbledore would be to talk to him when you were time traveling.
Or if he was his ghost version.
But the portrait, and Ginny's literally like, no, you can't listen to the portrait. Like, they're just a shadow of the person. And Harry's like, no.
Which is true.
No, I'm going to listen to the portrait. What? Why are you even telling us this? Why?
Yeah. It was, and like the advice he gives him is like so half measury and like doesn't really do anything.
It's so like, it doesn't even sound like Dumbledore. It's an offense to Dumbledore and to his honor.
It also happens in a parallel universe. So we don't even know if that is really what Dumbledore would have said.
Oh, God.
It's so confusing. Can we talk about the time travel
Please.
confusion that is wrought in this book? So as a person, as a nerd whose favorite movie is Back to the Future, I love time travel.
Don't we all?
Naturally. And clear time travel mechanics are the crux of any good time travel story, surprisingly enough. And this has the fuzziest, least explained, worst examples of bad time travel. It just doesn't make any sense. So they get these time turners, which have a very clear way of time traveling that we've seen, especially in the third book, where you give it a certain number of turns, it returns you back in time the certain number of hours, and then you have to live through that time twice to get through it. It's like, yeah, hours.
You can't time travel back years, decades, centuries.
Not that we've ever seen, at least. But they're like, no, we can. We'll take this bad time turner. They declare later in the book that the time turner that they get isn't even a good one. It's like a faultily made poor one that transports them back 23 plus years, and in some cases like 40 years.
But only 4 or 5 minutes at a time.
Sometimes. And that's the point, is like, okay, I can deal with the fact that like a time turner that's meant to only go back hours that is forced to go back years couldn't sustain that energy.
Right.
Like, I can buy that. But so they go back in time, they alter reality. They then are thrust back into time after 5 minutes, which even then is like a very tricky margin, because when you're reading this, the things that they do, it's like, that's no way that happened in 5 minutes, excuse me. And then like they do certain things, like they eat gillyweed and go down the strain to end up in the lake. And gillyweed lasts an hour. That's very canonical. And they travel through time for 5 minutes and come back and are immediately out of the lake and not fish anymore. There's so many issues with it. And then to top it off, they go back in time. They run out of time. So then they go back further in time before this time runs out. And then they destroy the time turner, and then they're stuck in that time.
It's a mess.
So I'm just going to leave you with that.
Mess.
It's such a mess.
So speaking of messes, I want to talk to you about my least favorite part of the story.
Yes.
But I just found it to be really disturbing, and I wanted to share with our listeners that I don't think this is okay.
Go.
That's when I think Albus and Scorpius are attempting to steal the time turner initially, so they have to transfigure themselves. Albus becomes Ron. Just try to follow me if you can. Albus
hard, guys.
becomes Ron, and Scorpius becomes Harry. In this universe,
and then their third companion, Delphi, becomes Hermione, right?
Right. But
sorry, just to clarify.
So I would say that this was my least favorite part of the story. I would say this is the part where I felt like I was going to give up, because it doesn't make any sense at all. This is my least favorite part of the book because Albus and Scorpius run into the real Hermione. And
yes.
So in order to cover, Albus, who is disguised as Ron, tries to like woo Hermione away from her office so they can't see that Delphi disguised as Hermione is actually in there.
Right.
And so he tries to make moves on his aunt.
Yeah.
And I don't like that one bit.
So not only is it like really weird, but the stage direction around it says, Albus/Ron watches her go, hopeful she'll walk past her office and away. But of course she doesn't. He runs to block her before she enters through the door. He blocks her once, then blocks her again, swinging his hips to do so.
But then he goes on to, when Hermione is sensing that something's up, and possibly it's her nephew and his young friend that are in fact responsible for this trick, Albus, disguised as Ron, blurts out, "Let's make a baby."
And starts making out with his
aunt.
Yeah.
The implication here is that Albus is trying to have sex with his aunt. And
which is just on so many levels is already bad enough.
Although they're not technically blood related, I am not here for it. And I think it should be stricken from the canon.
They are technically... Oh, no, they're not. Never mind.
Okay, so what was your least favorite part? What was hard for you to read?
God, it's really hard because there's so many bad parts.
There are.
I already talked about how I really, really hated the way they treated Cedric.
Right.
And how, because he's a great character and he behaves honorably, and they just like, nope, none of that anymore. But I'm going to go with when they go to the evil subplot dimension.
Right.
Where Harry died and
Voldemort took over.
He rules the world. Yeah. And there are just some things that happen that are just like really weird and unfortunate. Like they have mudbloods that they torture in the dungeon, which like I'm not against because I know that would happen in that world. I'm against the torture of mudbloods. I'm not against the idea that would be in that canon.
Wait, that was like one of my absolute favorite parts of the book.
That's not what I'm not saying that though. I'm saying that all of a sudden Scorpius is being like this kingly badass sort of person. We've never just giving traits to people that have never shown them that is terrible in books to me.
Right.
Like we know Scorpius has never been like the really forthgoing, really popular sort of guy, and suddenly making him literally called the Scorpion King and being seen as the king of the school really, really messed with me.
See, I listed this as my favorite part of the play.
Okay.
Because I think it's really fun to go to a world where everyone is always saying Voldemort and Valor. And I was just like picturing watching this play, and you hear like a distant scream, and Scorpius is like, "What was that?" And they're like, "Oh, that's the screaming of the mudbloods in the dungeon, just like you ordered." Like, I just found it to be hilarious.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
And shout out to renaming the Yule Ball the Blood Ball. That was that was something I enjoyed, I guess, too much. Did you have like a favorite kind of redeeming part of the play?
Is there a redeemable part in this play?
I mean, I liked that we.
What's yours? Then maybe I'll have one.
No, I just told you the fact that. I mean, this writer gave us the Blood Ball and Voldemort Day.
So I would say that my favorite part is when they go back in time for a third time with Snape and Hermione from an alternate timeline and undo all the things that they've fucked up. Because it essentially unwrites the last 150 pages I've just read.
Right.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah, it feels good to just erase everything you just were unnecessarily subjected to, including...
Sounds like a joke,
including
but it's not.
Cedric Diggory turning into a bubble and floating away.
Right?
Speaking of things we wish we could erase, I did want to give a shout out to a really, really messed up thing that Delphi says, because it's something that is going to stick with me for a really long time to come, I think, no matter what I try to do.
Okay.
So Delphi is talking to Albus and Scorpius right around the time that they're starting to realize that, hey, this child might be cursed and could possibly be the daughter of Voldemort.
Right.
And she's talking about how she wants Cedric to fail in the Triwizard Tournament. And she says, I don't just want you to stop him. I want you to humiliate him. He needs to fly out of that maze naked on a broomstick made of purple feather dusters. Humiliation got you there before, and it'll get us there again, and the prophecy will be fulfilled. Did that stick out to you for any reason?
I mean, it's really weird for sure.
Why?
I think... Why is it weird?
No, why is it... Why?
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think... well, this segues to an interesting question is, what did you think of Delphi? Because she's the new villain.
Right. Daughter of Voldemort and Beatrix.
Do they? Oh, yeah, they do say that, right?
I knew that she was the evil right from the start because they wouldn't have introduced her otherwise. And the fact that she was like sickly as a child and like just kind of had a shady background.
That sort of BS.
Yeah,
story.
I knew that she was trouble. I wish that I had never read about her and that I could time turner myself and go back to a time where I didn't know about her. That's my overall impression. What did you think?
Here's the thing is like I didn't see it as soon as you did, but I did discover like pretty quickly that she was the villain. And I really like her kind of slow descent into madness that we discover in the maze. And right before the maze, like I actually thought that was kind of a good turn, and the darker tone, especially because the maze is like a very dark, scary part in the fourth book, and like for all that to happen right then was really interesting. And I kind of liked what she was doing up until the point where she's just like, all I've wanted to do was meet my father, and I was like, oh, so
that's what
you're
this
really
is.
not cool at all. So yeah, I didn't think she was that great, but I thought she was kind of interesting. She was no Voldemort for sure, but no one is.
Okay, I have another really big question that we haven't gotten to.
Okay.
Why isn't Scorpius gay?
Yeah. Why is also Albus having the hots for Delphi when she's like 6 years older than him and he's 14?
I mean, it's all disturbing. But
yeah, I said at the beginning, it does read like fan fiction, and that's like I so expected for all of a sudden like they're right at the last page where it'd be like, and then Scorpius and Albus met the tender embrace and kissed under the dark dusk moonlight or something like that.
I would fucking love that. That would have taken this book from me from like a -20 where it is now to like a -5. Like that would have had so much redeeming value in my eyes. And people are like, when I was researching for the show, people on like Tumblr and a lot of like online communities are completely up in arms that they didn't make this Scorpius, that's like the name for it, thing happen.
That's the ship name.
That's the ship name. And there are so many homoerotic sayings and gestures and stage directions throughout the entire play, both from Scorpius and Albus and from outsiders about them who are like, you're perfect together. You belong together. Like, I hope it's insane.
I agree.
It's insane. And after, like, it was 9 years ago that J.K. Rowling decided at a panel that she was going to make Dumbledore gay. Why not just give us a gay character? Why not just say or two? Why not just say that Scorpius is in love with Albus Potter, which is completely written all over the pages, and then just say at the end he has a crush on Rose? No.
You didn't know he had a crush on Rose from the beginning?
I mean, he does, but that's something that he just says. I feel like that's a cover.
Hey, well, we'll know in a few years when J.K. Rowling does a press junket and says that he was always gay.
Gay all along. They were meant to end up together, but like for personal reasons, not reasons of credibility, I made them separate. No. We could go on for hours, days, weeks about how bad.
I mean, we could pick apart every single page of this whole fucking book.
But we can't do it forever. We're going to have to come to a close. I just wanted to quickly, if you could share with me any unnecessary facts that you learned about the characters. We didn't get a lot of like solid character development, but we did get a lot of like peek behind the curtain into what these people are like. Did you get any of those?
I would say it's the idea that Draco loves his son.
Okay.
Draco is like the most unfeeling, cold character next to Voldemort, like throughout the entire series, like up until like the very last moments of the final book. Like he's always a jerk, he's always an asshole, and then we kind of find out like he's switched sides a little bit, and then he throughout the whole story of this book, he like has this like need to find his only son, and I can understand like losing his wife and like feeling this connection to his son, but I don't know, it just didn't seem right to me the whole time. Like it never felt like Draco. And learning about like his deep affection for the son, it didn't feel like who Draco was ever meant to be.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So what's yours?
Without further ado, here are the 3 unnecessary random facts I learned about the Harry Potter characters that I wish I could unlearn.
Please.
Number 1, Harry does all the cooking.
Oh yeah, damn it! I should have said that one.
Number 2, Harry is scared of pigeons.
Yep, it's a great one because it's like the most stupid thing ever.
And I quote, Harry, he scrunches up his face, nasty, pecky, dirty things. They give me the creeps. The man who defeated Voldemort is officially afraid of pigeons.
What's the third thing?
Most importantly, the third one, Ron, Harry, and Ginny are all off of sugar. Hermione tells Ron she's off sugar, but secretly eats toffees in her office.
Yeah, that's about right.
Now you know,
it's like
guys.
Just turning all of our most beloved characters into like 40-something like misfit adults that don't make any sense was like probably the biggest atrocity this book committed.
Yeah, and there were a lot of atrocities, but that is the worst.
Okay, Mare, so to wrap up, you were telling me something before we started recording the podcast that we just need to share with our listeners. So if you could just quickly run through what you were talking about in the next like minute, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah. So guys, this is a kind of special bonus that we're throwing on to the end of the episode. When I was doing some research on Tumblr, I found that Bill Cipher, username Bill Cipher, had posted your very own Harry Potter and the Cursed Child plot points horoscope. So based on when you were born, we're going to tell you what Cursed Child plot point you are. So without further ado, listen up for your sign. Aries, you are Blood Ball. Taurus, you are Death Eater Cedric Diggory.
Oh, yeah. Cedric Diggory turns into Death Eater. We didn't even mention that. Continue.
We didn't even talk about the fact that Cedric Diggory becomes a Death Eater. If you're a Gemini, you're a Delphi. You know, two-sided.
So you're an evil daughter of Voldemort.
If you're a Cancer, you are, quote, it's hard being Draco Malfoy. Leo, you're Voldemort Day.
Our favorite day.
Virgo, you're Albus and Scorpius being baited for 3/4 of the play.
Okay.
Libra, you are Harry being forced to watch his parents die for no reason.
Oh my God, that was bad.
Scorpio, the Scorpion King. Makes sense.
Right on the nose.
Sagittarius, Presso, this is you. You are Ron apparently gifting a teenage boy with a love potion.
Yep. We didn't even touch that weird. That was one of the homoerotic undertones.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I mean, just using a blanket that has potions filled on it to communicate with the future, like props to them for coming up with creative things to throw in there.
Yeah.
If you're a Capricorn, you are Time Paradox Snape.
God, I wish I was a Capricorn.
Aquarius.
Just a few days away.
Aquarius, you're someone actually fucked Voldemort.
My favorite one.
And I'm a Pisces, and therefore I am Cedric Diggory being suddenly and inexplicably irrelevant again. So there you have it. Those are your official Harry Potter and the Cursed Child horoscopes.
Pretty exciting stuff.
It's all really exciting stuff. We hope that you enjoyed our you could call it a review. You could also call it a teardown of
Please
this
call
play.
it a teardown. Don't read this play, guys. Please
Don't do it. You know, the New York Times came out with an article, and it was entitled "J.K. Rowling just can't let Harry Potter go," and that's what it is. If you want to preserve all the wonderful memories of your childhood, I'd say stick to the original 7 books.
Right.
And that'd be my advice for you. So go ahead and send me an email, meredith@nerdchatpodcast.com. Tell me your least favorite part of the play. And if I missed any like random facts about the characters, please let me know.
And let me know why you would go and buy this book by shooting me an email, Presley@nerdchatpodcast.com. Where else can they find us, Merritt?
Well, you can like our social media, which is @nerdchatpodcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're always posting fun stuff on there. We have a poll up on our Twitter about last week's Star Trek episode. And we have a lot of funny pictures over on our Instagram, so check it out.
And don't forget to hit up our website where you can find info about us, past episodes, as well as merch and a donations page if you really want to help contribute. But the best thing that you can do for us ever in the world is subscribe and keep listening to our podcast. We'd love to get a rating, hear what you guys are thinking. We're always open to new suggestions for ideas and topics. So please let us know. It means the world to us, seriously.
So without further ado, we're going to go try and invent time turners so we can time turn ourselves back to a time where we had not read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
But until next time, I'm Presley.
I'm Meredith.
Bye, nerds.